Hello everyone and welcome to the should actually be the final devlog for this game. I know I sort of said that in the last one, but this one is going to be the final one unless something really strange happens. The reason being, the game is done. Everything that I wanted to include has been included, and at the time of recording this, it is on Steam. As such, the purpose of this devlog is more like a long audio note to myself, I suppose, about things I did wrong, and I hope if you're watching this and are, trying to make a game, maybe you can learn from my mistakes, that way you don't make them too. Mistake number 1, not understanding how to manage audio. For this project, it wasn't that bad because there weren't very many different audio sources. There's just a handful, 4 dialogues, a song, 3 background tracks, and a couple sound effects. So there's a 10-ish different sounds. But what ended up happening was I wrote the scripts that would handle the audio in a way that required every level to have the audio. So level 3, for example, still had the script because it was part of the game controller script, still had the script for level 2 audio, so level 3 had to have level 2 audio. Then of course in level 3 I would say, okay, well let's make a variable for the level 3 audio, which in turn would go back to level 2, and now level 2 says, well I need level 3 audio, don't I? And that's not the way you want to do this. I royally messed up how the audio was handled. In the end, I believe in a couple of the levels I would put here's the level 2 audio, mute it and don't play it ever, and that was my solution. I mean, if it works, right? But mistake number 2 was the scripts were way too long. Well, not all of them. Some of them were very specific. It was 3 lines. When the code for beginning and ending the level, that was seriously 6 total lines. And then I had the game controller script, which had, and maybe not 1,000 lines, but it had a vast majority of the code in it. It handled, well, like I said before, it handled all of the audio stuff, like when to play it. It handled the pause menu. It handled the game spawner. It handled tracking the UI. It handled everything, way more than it should have. And what's funny about that is, before I started the project, I did, I was no, my scripts need to be short, they need to be concise, they need to do, one thing, and specifically one thing only. But then when I was coding the game controller, I was oh, well, this handles the spawning, so let's also make it handle the counting, and well, then that has to show up on the UI, so let's put that there. And since it's doing the UI, let's also include the battery life, and since it's tracking the UI battery life, let's just, do the actual, battery life, the calculations and all this. It just kept growing, right? And that was a horrible mistake on my part. I really should have just, stopped and be no, it doesn't need to do this, it only needs to do this one thing. So yeah, I had game controller, which did the vast majority of the heavy lifting of the game, and then I had the UI script, which was on the canvas obviously, but the UI script handled the other vast majority. It was 40-40, and then 40%, 40%, and then everything else is divided into the remaining 20, right? But those are the 2 really big mistakes that I need to remember going into my next project. I need to make sure I've got audio on lock and not to go crazy with the scripts. In fact, I'm kind of already there. At the time of recording this, I've already started on the next project. Not very much, but I started on the movement for the next project, and right now the movement consists of being able to walk around, wall jumps, wall sliding, and double jumps, right? And that's all one script, and I'm aware, does this need to all be one script, or can I break this into smaller pieces? And I think right now it's fine, because it's specifically just the character's movement. Maybe? I do still need to add crouching and a couple of movement abilities, and that's where I'm gonna have to be okay, maybe the crouching can go with it, but the movement abilities do not need to go with the regular movement script. They should be handled separately. I just need to remember that. But on movement, one of the things that this game, My Life as a Robot Vacuum, had, maybe not an issue, but it's using Unity's old input system instead of their, Unity's new input system. And that, it works, but that posed a problem in that the game only works with keyboard and mouse. And on the one hand, that's fine. There's no benefit of if you were to control this game with a gamepad compared to having a keyboard and mouse. But it does kind of limit, I guess accessibility might be the right word, for people that either need or just want to use a gamepad, but you can't because there's no support for it in this case. And of course, I mean, it is on me for not knowing and using the new input system, but at the same time, like, when I went into this project, I just went in. It's not like I Googled, hey, is there anything new in Unity between 10 years ago and now or whatever. But the new game I'm working on, it definitely will have that because I've already started, using it. Because I want gamepad support. The game would probably play better on a gamepad, but just in case, I want both of those things. But aside from gamepad support, the only other thing I thought to add like after the fact, and this, I didn't really want to add it after I thought about it because it doesn't feel like it would fit thematically, but I was like, what if we put in an endless mode for the people that actually do want to like clean the stuff? I mean, that's fine, it wouldn't be hard to do, but it feels kind of out of place if you've played the game. Well, who knows, maybe one day I'll sit down and be like, okay, let's restructure this game and change it to where gamepad support is there, and then let's add the endless mode, why not? But on the whole, the game it's done, right? It's finished, and it feels good to finish it, and it's on Steam right now. So it's really cool to see my work on Steam. I will say, I mean, you can obviously tell I'm not an artist, but all of the like different, they call them capsules, but like the different logos and stuff like that you have to make for Steam, that caught me off guard. I was not prepared to make like 9 different art assets, and as you can see, they're all almost identical. That's what we in the business call cohesive branding. It's because I don't know how to make art. But one of the cool things that I was so excited to add, and it came last because while it's technically possible to do it like as early as you want, I suppose, I wanted to do it with my own like code and logic, were the Steam achievements. I mean, I had fun making like the art and stuff, but it was really cool to like sit there and actually make the achievements like from the ground up, right? Like I had to make the art, and then I had to like add a tiny amount of for the actual like unlocking the achievements, a tiny amount of code. But then there was the issue I ran into with my own stupidity. So here's a little fun story for you all. Anybody that's an aspiring developer looking to put things on Steam, remember to actually make your most recent, or I suppose whatever the build you want to be, the actual default branch in Steam. And here's the reason why. The 5 achievements that are in this game can all be unlocked. Well, 4 of them will be unlocked by playing normally. A 5th one requires a little bit of extra, like, something, but they're all really easy to get. So once I was done programming them, I went to test it. After I wrote in the Steam, like the Steam manager, right? After I made all of that, after I made sure everything was right, I was doing the whole Steam thing right, I followed documentations, I followed some guides, I put it in, I ran the game in the editor, and it connected to Steam, which is intended, even if it seems kind of weird. And I ran the game, and I unlocked an achievement, and I was like, yes, I did it. So then naturally, I saved it, I saved the build, I pushed it to Steam. For good measure, I uninstalled and reinstalled my version of the game, and I played the game from Steam, and no achievements. And so I was sitting there like, what did I do wrong? And it occurred to me that maybe it was because I used the like delete all achievements button to remove the achievements. I thought maybe that screwed with it somehow. So I like removed that code from the logic, even though it should not have affected it at all. I removed that code, I rebuilt the game, I re-pushed it to Steam, I re-uninstalled and reinstalled, and still nothing. I did this like 4 times before I was like, okay, something's not right here. And of course I was Googling the whole time, like, why aren't my achievements popping? How come they show up in the editor but not in the game? But I found like 2 people that had similar issues, but I refuse to believe that of the hundreds of thousands of people developing for Steam and using the API wrapper that I was, I refused to think that I was only one of 3 people that ran into this issue. You want to know what the real problem was? I mean, I kind of hinted at it earlier. The real problem was, even though I pushed my game to Steam, and Steam recognized that, I mean, it received the files, my dumbass never clicked set this version as the default one that gets downloaded. So the game that I kept downloading through my Steam client was the original version of the game that didn't have the Steam manager code in it. In hindsight, it seems like a really stupid thing, and it kind of is, but it's just one of those things, right? Like, you get so excited, you're like, yeah, it works. Oh no, why isn't it working, right? But I mean, it's, you know, in the end, I got it to work. I realized my issue, my error, and it's all fine now. The game is there and it's ready to go. I'm trying to remember if there are any other like mistakes. Oh, technically, well, no, it wouldn't even be technically. Another mistake is I do not know how to unwrap UVs in Blender. The lighting in my game is not, you know, good. And it's because when I tried to bake the lights, the game went absolutely insane. And I'm not 100% sure that this was the issue, but I think it is. Somebody online was like, oh yeah, if you're getting all these squares everywhere, which I was, it might be because your UV maps aren't unwrapped correctly, or they have like overlapping geometry, which when modeling and texturing, in my case, was sometimes fine. For example, the countertop in the kitchen, I want to say there's some part of it, because of the way it was modeled, like the front and the back are the same, like they share the same space on the texture, but because it's just a gray sink, that was fine, right? You just like colored it, like, oh yeah, it's both sides, it doesn't matter. But that's not how lighting does not care about that. So, you know, going forward, any 3D models I have to make, I really need to be careful about how I unwrap the UVs, which, I mean, obviously I had to be careful, but since I'm working by myself, you know, I can't look over there and be like, hey, you mess this up, because I'd just be looking in a mirror. But aside from that and the two other issues before, I don't think there's any other huge mistakes that I mean, there's a bunch of like small stuff, like not understanding, I don't know, depth of things. One of the earlier builds, the main menu is a room, right? There's a camera in a room, and the roof was too low, so you can see this weird like corner in the top of the screen. I'm pretty sure I hope I fixed that. I'm pretty sure I did. But just small stuff like that, and then other important like fundamental stuff, like, you know, how colors work together, how light and shadows work, like the actual artistic vision behind things, because anybody could just do what I did and they go in like, oh yeah, just paint it yellow and it's fine, but does yellow really work there, like that kind of thing, right? Like art design. But all of this stuff I'm very aware of, and I'm taking it into my next project and making sure I want my next project to be like a full game, you know, like actual. I don't want to say that I can be proud of, because I'm proud of this. I know it looks like a child made this game, but I am proud that I started a project. I sat down, you know, however many days it took me. I sat down and I did it and I finished it, and I all the way through the end. But the next game, I really want to be like, look at this. I did this. It's my project. I mean, I know I'm kind of doing that with this one, but you know my meaning, right? But yeah, that kind of wraps up development on my life as a robot vacuum. If you've watched these videos, I hope you either, you know, learned from my mistakes, or maybe got a little chuckle out of something I said somewhere. But thank you, everybody, for sticking around and just enjoying the ride. And I'll see you in the next one.